How's it going, Chasers? I hope you're having a kick-ass week. Today's podcast is brought to you by Gladfield Malt, making craft malt here in New Zealand with a family-run and operated business. If you're in Australia or New Zealand, you owe it to yourself to at least check their malts out. Give them a go, whether you are home distilling, home brewing, or you're in the commercial world. 100%, at least give them a go. Try them out. If you're in the other parts of the world, awesome. Good on you guys. I hope you're doing well. Chances are you can probably source some of their malt as well. You may want to go to their website, gladfieldmalt.co.nz, to ask some questions and see if you can get your hands on it there. This podcast is also brought to you by Adventures in Homebrewing, physical stores, and most importantly, an online store that anyone in America can buy from. They also have international shipping. If you are in the lower 48, that means free shipping over $50 on most things that they ship out. You can check them out at homebrewing.org/CTC. Using that link, homebrewing.org/CTC, will not cost you a cent. It's a great way that you can help support the podcast directly. Speaking of support, this podcast is also brought to you by the Patreons. Thank you so much, Patreons. The only way I get to do what I do is through your support, and it is greatly, greatly appreciated. If you are finding value in these podcasts or the Still It videos, feel free to head on over to chasethecraft.com/support to find all of the different ways that you can help support Chase the Craft and the podcast, including, if it's right for you, Patreon. Today's guest is Soren from 1919 Distilling, based in Auckland, right here in New Zealand, which is freaking awesome. This is the first New Zealand-based person I've had on the podcast, and I really hope to have a whole lot more, because I'm really proud that the craft distilling movement is starting to finally take off here in New Zealand. Being one of the only places in the world where home distilling is legal, I can't wait to see what our country can produce in terms of craft spirits over the next few years. Soren's story and the story of 1919 Distilling kind of personifies the Kiwi spirit here 100% to me. You're going to find out about this, we're going to talk about it, but he just jumped in the deep end. He never distilled spirits. He was literally on the other side of the world when he decided to do it. He was ordering stock for his distillery from a bar in Alaska, I think he said off memory. That takes balls, so kudos to him. We do talk a little bit about the state of affairs here in New Zealand. If you're overseas, I know the specifics may not relate to you exactly, but I think the spirit of what we're talking about, no pun intended, is very, very relevant no matter where you are. We do also talk specifics about the products he makes, the gins he makes, what goes into them, how he makes them, and we take a little extra time to talk specifically about a nostalgic New Zealand, we'll call it a specialty gin or a novelty gin. But it has really interesting connotations from a technical distilling point of view, from a marketing point of view, and especially from a branding point of view. So sit back, grab your favorite gin-based cocktail, and enjoy this discussion with Soren from 1919 Distilling. I can't remember why I brought that festival up. I don't remember. I think it was something to do with cocktails, but I forget. Anyway, what should we try next, my man?
I guess so next one we'll do pink gin. Yeah, yep. So the pink gin essentially came about. I had a friend and she said, "Can you make me a pink gin for my birthday?" And I said, "Yeah, of course, like 100%, I'll make you a pink gin for your birthday." And actually always wanted to do one, make it a limited edition, 1 month only, and give money to breast cancer was the plan.
Okay, cool.
And we got a message on Instagram from Liquorland's Toast magazine. And they said, "Hey, we're doing an article on pink gins in the next magazine. When's yours available?" At this stage, we had like 6 stores and I think 2 Liquorlands. So I was like, shit, This is amazing. Like, they even know who we are. And I hadn't made it commercially. I think that was 2 weeks away from the magazine's launch. And I was like, 100% we'll have a pink gin. It'll be out on the market next month. I was like, yep, no worries. And I was on a yacht at the time teaching. And I was like, cool. So I went back to the distillery, kind of knew where I wanted to go and what I wanted to do. But again, hadn't I guess made the gin commercially. So we got some, managed to get some photographed. And really what I wanted to do is pink gin back in the 1900s used to be gin and bitters. So when you ordered your pink gin, you got your shot of gin, a couple of drops of Angostura bitters, and that was your pink gin. So I really wanted to channel that spice because I guess 1919 is more traditional in brand and style, but at the same time acknowledge where pink gin is going today, because pink gin today is fruity and flavorful.
Yeah.
So we took locally grown strawberries, soaked them in alcohol, so macerated them as well, and then put them back through the still, and then blended them with the original gin. And the reason I went that way is because I could adjust the berry ratio to something I was happy with, without possibly doing 10, 30, 40, 50 runs to end up with a gin I liked. And it also meant, because we were real small on scale and still are comparatively, it means I can have both products sitting there. And if I get a big order for classic gin, I can bottle it. Or if I get a big order for pink gin, I can blend it and bottle it.
Right, so it gives you a little bit of flexibility. You don't have to literally double your inventory just in case a order comes through, but you don't have to have every single botanical that you have distilled individually and sitting there waiting to blend, which is what you were alluding to earlier before.
Yeah.
Right. Like if you can blend per batch and make every batch taste exactly the same by, oh, you know what, our juniper is actually a little heavier on the oils this week, so you know, we're going to put 5% less of the juniper into the, you know, you can play that game if you're blending everything.
Yeah, exactly.
You couldn't do that for the main gin, but at least you can do it for this one extra product.
Yeah, so we do it for the pink, and I use mainly strawberries, a little bit of raspberry in there. And always the way I describe it, so if I'm in a store or at a gin festival, is I go, if you like sweet pink gins, this is not sweet. So
nope.
Don't expect sweet because it's not there. Yeah. Some people say it's even drier than our classic gin, so it is really dry. So you get the spice, you get the heat up front, and then right at the back, sort of on the end of the palate, you get a real subtle berry coming through. So I always think it's more of a sophisticated pink gin in that sense.
Yeah, a lot of pink gins have gone, they're basically a cocktail in a bottle, right? Like they're super, super sweet. And then you get the real, like, really hideous ones, which is what turned me off pink gin when I first started drinking gin, which is basically like berry essence plus sugar plus food dye.
Yeah.
I've got to imagine. They taste like a strawberry starburst or something. It's so bad.
Yeah, I remember I was at the airport and they had one of the pink gins on a tasting stand there. I said to the person, I said, "Oh, cool, can I try this?" It's, developed the palate. And I just about got blown away. It was like sucking on a bag of sugar. And I said, out of curiosity, what have you mixed this with? And they said, strawberry cordial. And at that point, I thought, you're fucking insane. And I said, can I try it without the cordial? And it tasted the same. So, okay.
So the color isn't coming from the berries in this. Where is the the color coming from?
No, so we've used a natural color to color it because basically when it goes through the still, it's going to come out clear.
Right.
If we just soak the strawberries in there, so it took us a while to work it out. If you soak the strawberries in there, it looks blinging for about a week. Put it in the sunshine and it goes brown. So we use a bit of natural color that we pulled out of some rhubarb and some other stuff. And beetroot doesn't give any flavor, but we've managed to get it light stable as well, which is the main thing, because you don't want to be rotating the stock in stores because it goes clear in the sun.
No, and I mean, you've been very subtle with that too. Like if you put that in a really bright environment or like a weird bar, where they've got blue LEDs and all sorts of stuff going on, you would perhaps even struggle to see the difference between the classic and the pink.
When you get down to the last 50 mils, you can't really tell the difference.
Yeah. It's interesting, man. Like you're 100% right. It does present. I don't know if it's drier. It's almost like that extra little spicy bit at the end sort of cleans the palate off quicker. I mean, that's how I perceive it. But it's interesting. It's almost more of a hardcore gin drinker's gin than your standard gin, which is, like you say, is interesting because normally the pink gin's the lolly water for people that don't really like gin. Yeah. Interesting.
So no, it's been awesome. And like the gin festivals, I always say to people, look, if you like sweet gins, try it, but you won't like it. If you're a hardcore gin nerd, try it and you'll probably love it.
Yeah, no, I 100% agree with that. On that note, we're going to take a really hard left to the next bottle. Here we go, guys. Wait. Oh, there we go. So this, do I even mention the inspiration for this, or is that going to get you in trouble?
I think I can. So I'll
let you skirt that issue.
Yeah. So growing up in New Zealand, I loved pineapple lumps, and I thought they were the most amazing lolly.
Yep.
So it's something that every Kiwi knows. It's something that you get to try, and every Kiwi just knows opening that bag of pineapple lumps. It's kind of like in America, you've got milk duds, or you've got the red licorice, and it's just one of the things that everybody knows. So I always had this pipe dream of making a gin that represented it. So we ended up creating the Pineapple Bits gin. I'm not allowed to say the other word. We got told off for that. So we got a cease and desist, which is actually, it was a good day. But if you're listening, we're very sorry, and we won't do it again because we've agreed to that legally. But it was a little bit of fun. So our Pineapple Bits gin is very much inspired by that New Zealand lolly. So it is a bit sweeter. It's back sweetened with a little bit of sugar because we wanted it to be that lolly. And if you just do the distillation yourself, so bit of vapor, bit of column, then you're not going to get that sweetness there because all the sugars are going to be left behind. So that's something we found is when we made it, it tasted, I guess, cool, but it really wasn't where it needed to be. And when we back sweetened it, then it just elevated a lot of flavors, brought out a lot more flavors, and almost completely changed it from where it was originally.
Oh, so you're literally distilling this with Mr. Pascal's
product.
So
we played around for about 6 months. We played around with pineapple lumps, putting them in the column. We put them in the boiler. We soaked them in high-proof alcohol. We stripped them. We crushed them to work out how to get the flavor out of them, and played with various bits and pieces. We used pineapple as well. I saw somebody on the forum the other day was wanting to use pineapple as their first thing. Pineapple sucks. Like I remember leaving it in alcohol for a week and not getting any flavor, and then checking on it 2 months later and there was flavor. So working out how to get it out, and then the picton and other bits and pieces in there, and then cacao nibs as well. I remember every time I thought I had it, I'd think I've got this most amazing concoction, put it through. We've got a little 5-liter test still, and it would come out like water out the other end. And then I remember the first batch we made was literally about that much. And I ran across to my neighbor and I was like, try this. And he's like, oh, that's mean. That's totally smashable. And I I was like, he's like, have you got more? And I was like, no, that's literally all of it.
Oh, dude. Okay, so backing up for people that do not live in New Zealand and haven't experienced this. Like the last time I was in Texas, I literally took like 10 bags of pineapple lumps with me and gave them out to people because it is literally one of the most nostalgic New Zealand candies, I guess, or nostalgic.
Yeah.
It just, for a New Zealander, it's childhood. Like, I mean, even if you didn't like pineapple lumps, you would have been constantly exposed to pineapple lumps as a treat at your nan's house or birthday parties or whatever. And I'm going to try and describe them, and you're all going to think they're disgusting. But if you're from America, try and describe a Twinkie to someone and tell me that it is not fucking disgusting when you actually say what it is. So a pineapple lump is this weird texture of halfway between marshmallow and like a Jersey caramel, I guess. It is bright yellow, like highlighter fucking yellow, the stuff in the middle, and it tastes like fake ass pineapple. And then around the outside of it, they've taken quite possibly the worst chocolate known to man, which tastes like cremelta and cocoa powder, not chocolate, and coated it in it. And whenever you opened a bag, you never knew whether it was going to be a bag that was kind of new and they were soft and chewy, or whether the bag had been sitting there for 8 years and you were going to break your teeth on it. You never knew. It was the luck of the draw.
Or you get a mixed bag and one would be like marshmallow softness and suck. You'd be so disappointed. And then the next one would snap because it's solid.
Yeah, exactly, dude. And it literally, it's so hard when you're describing something like this because I'm going to say that this tastes like fake pineapple and cremelta and cocoa powder, which would sound like an insult to any respectable gin maker, but it's not meant that way. It literally just it's like opening a bag of pineapple lumps, dude. You nailed it.
So before the whole pandemic, we actually were really lucky to jump on board Azamara cruises and take the gin on board and do some gin classes for the passengers and some tastings. So typically passengers from around the world, not New Zealand. So I took on a whole bunch of bags of pineapple lumps.
Right.
And I did a seminar in the theatre, explained it, but they didn't get to try them. I had people coming up to me the next day, like, we went ashore in Napier and we went to the dairy and we bought pineapple lumps. They're amazing. And then they're like, we're buying your gin as well because this is so cool.
Yeah, dude. Everyone I gave pineapple lumps to in America last time, they were all Texans, funnily enough. A couple weren't. They were in Texas, but not Texans. They all got back to me like really guiltily, and they were like, pineapple lumps are delicious. I don't think I'm allowed to say that, but they're really good. I don't know, man. Anyway, we've dwelled on pineapple lumps for quite a while now, which New Zealanders will enjoy, but I don't know about anyone else. So
we'll move on.
Yeah. So, all right. So, do you want to circle back around to the actual process you landed on for this? And obviously, if there's things there that you can't share, that's cool. But let us know what you can about how you're making this, because the process of going through and trying, like the idea of putting chocolate in a still is hilarious to me. Like not cocoa nibs, just like literally a product with chocolate on the outside of it.
Yeah, like what we found is, I guess I'll probably go into more what we found than what we do.
Yeah, fair enough.
So like we found with the pineapple lumps themselves, when you soak them in alcohol, the alcohol doesn't dissolve the chocolate.
Interesting.
And so the chocolate sort of just sits on the outside, and we're not talking we're talking high proof 70-80% alcohol. I think at one stage I tried 95% alcohol, which should strip anything.
Yeah.
And the chocolate, which is just testament to it being plasticky chocolate.
It really is. Yeah.
Just sat there and did nothing. And so we sort of found all right, we've got to get the chocolate off to actually get into the lolly itself, or the candy, and then sort of chopped it up, and that helped a lot. So you got the color of the chocolate, but then you got the flavor of the lolly coming through. And with the pineapple, we left it for a week, and you went back and you just felt defeated. But then when you crush it up and leave it a bit longer, then you started getting the flavors coming through. Then you got Just really awesome, almost pineapple liqueur if you back sweetened with sugar.
Right.
And that was really cool. And the cacao nibs the same. So using the cacao nibs and stirring them versus letting them sit, and then getting that chocolate note coming through. So it's really sort of a process of playing with the different options there. And then there's not a huge amount of sugar in there, but what I'll say is, like, when we have I guess our base, or how we make our base, then when we add the sugar, it changes at 180 degrees. And I'm always my worst enemy when I'm tasting a batch. I always think it's not the same until I go back and test it half an hour or 2 hours later. Because you get palate fatigue when you try it 30 times in a row, all next to each other. And what I typically find is you go, there's not enough chocolate there, and then you sort of adjust the sugar levels, and then you go, shit, there's all of a sudden chocolate. And by adding that little bit of sweetness, you'll suddenly boost one level and something else will drop away. And what we found as well with tonic water, so different tonic water, different acidity levels. So the East Imperial Burma is going to bring out more chocolate, whereas if you use a Swept 1783 crisp, it brings out more pineapple as well. So even just adjusting the pH of the gin itself is also going to accentuate different flavors.
Yeah, that's really interesting, man. I mean, from the culinary world, you almost don't have an option, right? You need to use either salt or sugar as a seasoning, even if it's not the main event. And I guess it's just part of the human evolution that, I don't know, that triggers stuff for us, or whether it's chemically changing it, I don't know. But I 100% agree. I guess the biggest thing that I discovered like that was doing a limoncello. And I don't like big, sweet, delicious, I don't like desserty spirits. That's not really my jam. So I made this limoncello and I was like, I'll leave the sugar out and it'll be delicious. And you taste it and you can't taste lemon. There's nothing there. There's no lemon. It kind of vaguely smells like lemon. And you put a little bit of sugar in and more lemon comes out. And you put more sugar, there's more lemon. And eventually,
and it's like,
they just sort of they chase each other up, and it ends up being and I mean, that's why it's such a sugary drink, in my opinion. I guess the way that it's drunk and when it's drunk too has a lot to do with it. But yeah, it is very interesting how sugar amplifies, especially fruit flavors, which kind of makes sense, I guess.
Yeah, it sort of acts as, I guess, a complementary note. Like you can go overboard in it as well. And we've made ones that never went to market, that did go overboard, and then you're like, oh shit, that's way too sweet. So it's trying to find that balance where you bring the notes out you want, and it changes the mouthfeel. But yeah, I guess the biggest secret to it is if you took the stuff that came out of the still and the R&D and where the product started, and you put that straight into the bottle without the sugar, you wouldn't think it's the same product.
Totally.
Which is something I never thought I'd be adding sugar to a product, and here I am doing it. But in saying that, both our classic, both our pink, and everything else we make has no sugar. It was very much, this needs to be a lolly and a candy. We also need that sweetness there.
Yeah, just purely on the nostalgia side of things, it's a candy pie, right? That's what you're trying to make.
Yeah.
I'm intrigued by this from a conceptual level as well. So it's a novelty gin, right? It's not like, that's what it is. It's there to trigger nostalgia. It's there for people to have a laugh. It's there because it is meaningful and Kiwiana and all of those things rolled together. But you're not going to turn up at some snooty gin. Well, you probably would, actually, getting to know you a little bit. I get the feeling you might do that. You know what I mean, though, right? So, there's such a fine line when you walk these things from a marketing and a branding perspective. How do you make something like this to tap into that nostalgic sort of marketing side of things and still have people take your classic gin seriously?
Yeah, so this was, I guess it was probably the biggest gamble we've ever taken in the distillery. And it was something I believed in, and it was something wholeheartedly I felt would work. At the same time, I was scared shitless. So we're, I guess, from 2 points where, are we going to get sued? Which we did. And are people going to like this? And so we decided to, and I guess the concept behind the original name, you won't find any photos, and if you do, they're all edited on our social media. But if you look at other people's, you might see the original artwork, which had a photo of a picture of a pineapple and some wording behind it. So we inferred heavily, as they said. But we knew we needed to, I guess, get that out there for it to work. And when we launched it, and I'll give them a shout out because they deserve it, Liquorland Forest Hill took the most amazing photo. Follow their Instagram. Honestly, the amount of staging they do for their photos for a liquor store is beyond any of the influencers out there.
Really?
It's awesome.
I'll have to check it out, man.
It's super cool. And anyways, that photo we used on Liquorland Forest Hill.
Okay, cool, man. I will, when I'm editing this, I'll pull it up, and Liquorland Forest Hill, you will have a new follower.
Cool. But yeah, so we used their photo and posted it and sent it to a couple of media outlets in the hope of getting some traction. And we heard back from one person, but what we didn't know is a couple of the other people read our email, and it ended up on ZM's Facebook page with over 3,000 comments, 3,000 likes or something. Then all the other radio stations picked it up, and it went viral throughout New Zealand and actually sold out of Glengarry's before it even hit the shelves and became their fastest selling gin to date.
That's amazing, dude.
Sales staff. And then because we didn't anticipate, well, we hoped, but we never anticipated. So we got stuff soaking straight away and started working on the next batch, but we're actually out of stock for a week. And batch 2 did the same thing, basically sold out nationwide again. And we just had liquor store after liquor store and even customers phoning us saying, where can I find this? You know, I've read about it, I've seen it, where can I find it? I'm like, look, we're making more pre-sales online now. And then so batch 2 sold out and then batch 3 did as well. And we still get people, like we had a comment today, somebody saying it's the best gin they've ever tasted. But the most nerve-wracking thing for me was going to the gin festival. So not that there's anything wrong with it, but that's where you're going to find your gin snobs. That, you know, there's one gin for them. And here we are, this gin brand with very classic products doing something that is not very classic, and pushes the boundaries of gin, to say the least. And you know, they would come up and they go, I'll try your pink, I'll try your classic, but I'm not trying your pineapple. That's a joke. And I said, that's cool, but why don't you try it? You don't have to like it, and I won't be offended if you don't. And they go, okay, well, I'm not going to like it. And then they try it, and they go, I'll take a glass of that in a bottle. And I'm sheepishly ashamed to, which was awesome.
It's funny, man. Like I see this from both perspectives, right? And as a brand, that's what you have to do, right? You have to be able to put yourself in the shoes of the people that are going to be your biggest critics and see whether or not that's going to be an issue for you long run and rah. But I can kind of understand the mentality of this isn't gin, so stop calling it gin. I get it, dude. Like I get it. And for me,
100%.
This isn't the biggest offender. Probably for me, the biggest offenders are the ones that probably the really sweet pink gins or the stuff that's like, because this does not smell like gin. It literally smells like you put your nose in a bag of pineapple lumps, which is a testament to your skill as a distiller and also your commitment to R&D. It's awesome, dude. But when you taste it, it tastes like a gin, albeit with pineapple and chocolate added to it. You know, it still tastes like a gin. Whereas some things don't. They literally just taste like a strawberry daiquiri or, you know, and I get what people are saying, dude. It's like gin has a meaning. When you put it on a bottle and you put it on a shelf in an alcohol store, if I read gin, that says to me that I can expect a certain amount of certain flavors. Number one being, if I can't taste juniper in it, why the fuck are you calling it gin? Stop trying to trick people. Like I get it. I understand it, dude. And I agree. Especially if people are being disingenuous with their labeling, right? And they're trying to like almost trick people into buying their stuff. That's not cool. But then the other side of it is things change, man. Things morph. The culture moves on and products change and people's tastes change. And as a distiller, you need some form of creative outlet, right? There's only so many things you can do that are different that still taste like a classic gin or a London dry gin, or you need to get your beak wet on creativity. I don't know, man. I can see it both ways.
The biggest thing for us was just in some ways it's a point of difference when on the market is how do you do something that nobody's done before that's hopefully is going to get your brand recognized, hopefully going to hit the right notes and take you from the shadows to somewhere that people see you.
Yeah. And I mean, this is the sort of product that you'll probably never be able to export, right? Like, people aren't going to get it elsewhere unless you can be there.
Maybe to the UK.
To them. Good point. Very good point. So I feel like I need to address something really quickly, because in anything like this, and I get it in photography all the freaking time, there's people that almost... they have a go at you for doing anything that's considered marketing or commercial, right? Oh, you're just doing that as a marketing ploy. Oh, you're not a real artist because blah, 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 blah. And I guess the only thing I can say to those people is, fuck you, dude. If you want to do it if you want to do it purely for the art, that's cool, man. But as soon as you say, I'm going to provide for my family by doing this, and I love it so much that I'm going to take a pay cut to walk away from the job that pays me more money to do this and commit to it for years of my life and take a huge risk and put the family savings on the line and so on and so forth. Marketing is a real thing, man. It's just a necessary... it's not even a necessary evil. You can do marketing in a way that isn't slimy, that isn't car salesman-ish. I mean, it's not like you're tricking people into drinking this stuff, right? Like, you're legitimately... it's fun for me. I like drinking this because it's nostalgic. You're not taking advantage of me. You're giving me something cool. Sorry.
No, you're all good. Like, I always say to people, like, we do a lot of in-store tastings, and I say, look, try it if you like it. If you don't, you don't. Like, I love Coke. Like, I think it's fantastic. It goes great with rum. I will drink Pepsi, but I don't purchase Pepsi.
Yep,
and you can like our gin but not want to drink it every day, or you can love our gin. Like, I can't appeal to 100% of the world, and that's okay. Like, that's not what we want to do. We want to make a cool product that I'm passionate about, and hopefully other people are too. At the end of the day, we need other people to be passionate about it as well. But
and the market's going to tell you, right? Like, if no one's buying your product, I mean, there's other things that could be, it could be the marketing that's the problem, not the actual product. But I mean, you have to, at some point in time, as a commercial operation, you have to, it's not a case of the customer's always right, but you have to know that you're providing something of value to someone that is willing to part with their hard-earned money because they believe in what you're doing enough to take a bottle home with them. Like, I mean, that's the bottom line. And if people don't know you exist, if they've never heard of you, if they walk into the store and, like you said, dude, there's a wall of gin in front of them. You need to do something to catch their eye and get them to try it that first time. Just having an awesome product doesn't make a business. It just doesn't.
I think you've got that 3 seconds to make an impression with your bottle to somebody. And if you can get the sales staff on board, and if there's time, and if they're not at the counter selling, and if they're free to talk to that customer and they like your product, 95% chance that somebody will buy it. But that's a lot of ifs, and you've got a 3-second window to catch somebody's eye. And hopefully what we're doing works. I mean, at the moment it seems to be, but we've got to keep adapting, I guess, as more brands come to light and as people's focus change. But I guess our goal is just to make cool shit that tastes good.
Which is cool, man. It's awesome. You want to talk about this?
100%.
Have at it, dude.
So I guess what you've got there is probably the first whiskey I've ever distilled. I think being the operative word, that's about 6 months old that you've got there.
I've got,
because I didn't label
19.
the bottles. Yeah, I think that sample's about 6 months old.
Oh, like, so you pulled it out of the barrel 6 months ago?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, right.
Oh, so yeah, it was in the barrel for 6 months when I pulled it out.
I see what you mean. Yep.
Yeah, just because I didn't write down that part on the bottle. It's somewhere in photos on my phone.
Yeah.
But essentially, like, I love whiskey, and it's always been a passion to make whiskey in the distillery. And we didn't have a mash tun at the time, so what we ended up doing was working with Urbanaut, because they're just down the road in Kingsland. And it's kind of cool. You did an episode on distillers malt the other day, chatting about distillers malt's the evil of all roots. So this is 100% distillers malt, and it's designed for yield.
Yep.
And the reason it's 100% distillers malt is I wanted to understand distillers malt and what it would do, and the flavors we'd get out of it before we start adding other flavors to it.
Yeah.
And so
and
we ended up doing it.
The problem with whiskey is that you don't know for so long. Like gin, you can throw things through a still. It sucks. It's a long process and it's costly, but 2 weeks later you can have an answer, right? You still don't have an answer from this yet. It's not a finished product yet. Yeah. Anyway, sorry, dude. Carry on.
No worries. So we kind of took the 2-row barley, the distiller's malt, and rather than, I guess, going for the traditional 3-day ferment, which is 3 to 4 days industry standard, we thought, hey, look, we're working with a brewery. Let's do something different. So we took their beer yeast that they use, and I think it was a 3rd generation yeast that they had on hand. And actually pitched that yeast into it, and we did a cold ferment, so about 17, 18 degrees, and fermented it out for about 7 to 8 days, and then actually brought it back to the distillery, and I left it for another week, and it slowly fermented out again. So probably about 2 weeks on the ferment, and finished roughly around 9% ABV in there. And then, so that was a 3,000 litre mash. We ended up with 3,000 litres roughly of wash, and took the first 2,500 litres and learnt how to make whiskey. So literally went through 2,500 litres of wash learning how to distill the stuff. Never done it before, thought need to learn. So the first 2,500 litres has gone to do other stuff. We've got one batch, which is smoky. If you like smoky things, it's a freak of nature. It's not peated, it's not smoked, it's just its own animal, and it's cool, but it's a love-hate. Like, it's thought, fuck it, it's different, let's do something with it. But I think it's cool.
Is that all like phenolic stuff coming from the yeast, if it's not actually smoked?
No, it's how we distilled it. We kind of ended up smoking it in the still.
You scorched it.
You
added
it. So we kind of got some smoke in there, but then we kind of cooked some of the proteins while we were distilling it. So it came out real funky. Not in the sense that it was burnt, because there was no solids in there. But then we ended up cooking it as it went through. So it's a freak of nature. I don't really know what it is, but it's cool. But this is the I guess the first batch of successful stuff. Quite a lot of it went into private barrels, and what we ended up doing is actually making a rum in-house and putting the rum into the barrels for a couple of months to season them, and then these were in 10-litre barrels. So in-house rum, seasoned the barrels because they're new French oak. Wanted to knock back that new oak. I love rum, so I kind of like a little bit of the sweetness that it can impart on the whiskey as well. Then went for a light style of distillation rather than sort of a heavy barley style, which we've just done with some other stuff.
Yeah, so I mean, the first thing when I opened this box from you, and I didn't even, it was like literally 7 o'clock in the morning, so I just popped the cap and had a sniff, and the first thing I thought of was, that smells like rum, and not in it's rum, but it had that. I'm always cautious to use the word heady with distillers because they think I mean heads. I don't mean heads. I mean like how rum is heady in terms of kind of like fermented banana almost, I guess is what I mean by that. Yeah. It has just a hint of that, but it's super, super clean. It's a very light whiskey, and I'll be interested to see what happens over time with it. But it's got a nice little amount of vanilla going on. The oak's coming through now. But it is very, very light. It's not thick. It's not.
Mm.
It's not like you say a heavy barley or grain forward distillation.
No.
It's a whiskey for the masses. It's more like a blended,
Yeah.
almost like an Irish in some ways, but with more of a like sort of Scotch wood
Yeah.
profile, I guess.
Did a blending, I guess, or not a blending class, but got to blend a lot of the components from the Chivas Regal.
Cool.
And some of the single components that go up to make it remind me of this in some styles. It's sort of just a light, clean whiskey.
Yeah, it's very much like a Chivas Regal, super approachable, clean. To be perfectly honest with you, completely not my type of whiskey.
Yeah,
but that's a personal preference. I would be
that's
interested.
Right.
Well, like you say, it's just like, I mean, you can't hold one of the things that I will never forget from Daniel from the Whiskey Tribe was, what's your favorite food, dude? What do you like eating the most?
Me, I'm probably fried chicken.
Nah, you're fucking wrong. You're wrong. Like saying that to someone in terms of food is so ridiculous, right? It's what do you like? Like, but somehow people think that's okay to do with spirits. Like, no, you're wrong. Yeah. Blended Scotch is horrible. You should never drink blended Scotch. I like blended Scotch. No, you're wrong. Assholes. Anyway, my point being is that a personal preference is not in any way, shape, or form a compliment or a diss to someone that's making it, right? It's just, anyway.
Yeah, 100%. And that's, I always think, like, you don't have to like it. Like, we've got whiskey that's been down for 3+ years in a red wine cask. That's completely different.
Interesting.
And I love peated whiskey as well. Like, I love peat. But for my first ever whiskey, as a distiller, that's, I guess, we were learning about it, and we've got the Founders Cask going on, so we'll be doing more with Founders Club. So we'll be doing more with that as well, and do a couple of different styles. And we've got ex-Woodford Reserve barrels. But I couldn't do a big, heavy peaty monster to learn about the subtle nuances when you distilled it, because I wanted to learn about the base grain, and I wanted to know what that base grain would come out like when I distilled it at a higher proof, at a lower proof, with more heat, with less heat, and different styles. And so that was really the goal out of this, was to learn how to distill your base, and to learn about the base that's going to make up the majority of your whiskey. The stuff we put through the other day was mainly beer malts and chocolate malts, and it's completely different. We went for a much heavier style, and I think it's going to be freaking awesome. But it's so far different from this, and I think that's the fun thing, is there's no right, there's wrong. And the thing that probably pisses me off most in the whiskey world is somebody goes, "This isn't like a 21-year-old Scotch whiskey."
Yeah, no shit, dude.
No shit.
We're a 3-year-old company in New Zealand.
Yeah, and that's the thing I love about America and their consumers over there, is they will totally champion this 9-month-old thing off of a still that's built in a barrel, and they will go, "This is fucking awesome," and they'll rave about it. It's a lot harder in New Zealand to get through the pretentiousness and convince people that young spirits can be good.
I think that has a lot to do with the resurgence in America of maybe not people that are new to spirits. Well, no, actually, I do think it is. It's people that are new to spirits. The people that are discovering spirits now, that are getting into it, that are realizing that they've got this insane passion for a spirit that was their granddad's drink.
Yeah.
And because of that, they're sort of bringing a new way of thinking to the industry and to consumerism of aged barley-based spirits and corn-based spirits. And it's breaking down walls in that snobbery category, right? Like age statements and single, and it has to be Scotch, and all those sort of things are starting to go out the wall, out of the window. And I'm not seeing that so much in New Zealand. I've got very few friends my age that really enjoy a whiskey that would be happy to. I mean, everything for me up until recently, up until a couple of years ago when I started distilling, was whiskey was an alcohol delivery device. What's the ABV number and what's the price tag? And divide one into the other, and that's what it's worth. Do you know what I mean? I mean, that's literally what whiskey was to me when I was growing up, like when I started drinking. And now that I don't drink that way, more often than not, if I do want to sit down and pour a single standard drink and enjoy it for 45 minutes with a friend, it's kind of like, how do I put this in a non-wanky way? It's not me telling them what they should like, but it's me leading them through that experience, I guess, like, and trying to get them to give a shit and not just shoot it.
Yeah. And I think
when that
like
changes, the industry will change as well.
Yeah, and I think that's something that guys with I think it's Rex and something, but with the whiskey tribe over in the States.
Rex and Daniel. That's the guy I was quoting before.
Yeah, they talk about, if you've got somebody that loves bourbon and hates whiskey, don't go give them Bruichladdich Black Art or Bruichladdich, heavily peated whiskey as their introductory.
Sorry, I just inhaled whiskey.
That's all right.
Oh man, yeah, totally. If you're a person, it hasn't happened to me for a while. I forgot how painful it is. If you're a person that has some knowledge of what you enjoy to drink, you need to once again put yourself in the other person's shoes. If they come and tell you that their favorite whiskey is Jameson's and that's all they've ever drunk, don't go pouring Octomore for them,
Yeah.
Or do, but preface it with a statement sort of giving them a bit of a heads up of what they might be in for.
Yeah, work up to it.
Oh God, I'm dying. All right, man, we've been at this for about an hour and a half, so I think what we need to do is probably wrap up and let you go about your day. I know you've got the mash tun running.
Got some deliveries to do.
Yeah. Once we're backstage, we've got a couple of quick fire Q&A stuff for the Patreon, so we'll rip through that as well. But thank you so much, man. The best place to find you and figure out what you're doing is your website, I've got to imagine.
Yeah.
And anywhere where this goes out, I'll make sure it's in the show notes for people to click on as well.
Best place to find us is our website, which is 1919distilling.com. Shameless plug right there.
No, good.
If you're overseas and we ship to Australia, but we're working on the rest of the world, give us a follow on Instagram. That's free and it helps us out, or even better on Facebook. Otherwise, we're available in most good liquor stores in New Zealand, and we have a map on our website. Or if you buy it from us direct, free shipping. And it makes my day.
Awesome. Yeah. So that is one thing that New Zealand's got going for it, is that we can sell liquor online here and deliver it, which is pretty freaking awesome. All right. Anyway, thank you so much for your time, dude. I thoroughly appreciate it. I will need to make an excuse to come to Auckland sometime. Yeah,
I was going to say you should come put a batch through the still and have a commercial run.
That'll be fun, man. Okay. I think we just found an excuse. Now I just need we can make plans on that. It's so funny, dude. Like, people used to say stuff to me like that, and I'd be like, yeah, that's a great idea. It's never going to happen. I've got this thing called a day job, and a family. And now I'm like kind of sitting here going, oh, that's right. The boss can't be pissed at me because I am my own boss. I just need to figure out when to do it. The boss can
still be pissed at you. You just got to fire yourself and rehire yourself.
Yeah. So a huge thank you to Soren from 1919 Distilling for helping us out, for sharing some information and sharing some of those stories. He is exactly the sort of person that I love talking to on these podcasts. Someone who's done it hard, that has literally started from nothing. He wasn't handed this on a platter. He made it work from nothing. Put in the hard yards for R&D and research and just getting it right. And now he's got a successful gin distillery right here in New Zealand, which is awesome. I've been drinking his products for the last few weeks with my wife, and I absolutely love them. So if you can get your hands on a bottle, by all means, guys, please do. Show some love for the podcast and guests, and get yourself a tasty bottle of gin at the same time. Don't forget, this podcast was also brought to you by the Patreons, Gladfield Malt and adventures in homebrewing. If you show them some love as well, it'll help me out too, and it's good for everyone. Keep on chasing the craft, guys. Have an awesome week. I'll see you next time.